Now for the final two boss fights. Well, no, it's probably two, maybe three depending on if you count the final boss fight having two phases. The point is this boss fight sucks. It's all about timing the bomb throwing exactly right, or at least the first phase of it is. You have to throw it after it starts flashing, but you have no way of knowing when exactly to throw it after it starts flashing. It's extremely easy for you to throw it at the wrong time, or throwing it too early or throwing it too late. It's extremely annoying, especially as you're forced to be close to the tornado to throw it at exactly the right time. But being close to the tornado puts you at risk of being swept up in the tornado and annoyingly thrown around, and therefore the bomb will blow up before. It's atrocious to say the least, and it took me a really long time to beat it. In fact, I was worried that I wouldn't, and I'd have to just get the rest of the game footage from YouTube. Eventually, through sheer stubbornness, I finally managed to beat it, but it really isn't fun. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It would have been fun if it had the remote bomb from Minish Cap, because there you can just make it blow up whenever you want by just pressing the button again. If they only had that in this game, that would have been awesome. But instead, they refused to learn their lesson from other better games. When I was planning on doing this LP, I was thinking that I would get to have a whole list of the items in the game that I could talk about having potential level 2 upgrades and what that'd be like. But apparently it's only 2 items, which I've already talked about, don't get level 2 upgrades.
The Rock's Feather and the Lantern. I guess the lamp could light giant torches. And I can't talk much about which items the Shadow Links never had either, which would be the Boomerang, the Lantern, which could potentially light trap torches, and the Shovel and Slingshot. The Shovel would, I guess, be digging holes that are traps or bottomless pits. And also we never had a Shadow Link having the Bombus Medallion, because that would have been overpowered. And Shadow Link riding on a horse, same thing, he would be way too overpowered. We also never saw a Shadow Link throwing a mystery item at us, or throwing trees at us with a power bracelet. And, oh, the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide lists the Quake Medallion as being called the Red Bracelet. That's funny. So if he had the Quake Medallion, maybe he could transform you into jelly for a short amount of time. I was holding right when I was falling into the underground cave, but it just keeps insisting on sending me to the cannon. And here is kind of an annoying part of the fight because you're stuck in a 2D section, so it's kind of hard to hit him. When he turns red, you arbitrarily get hurt when you try to attack him. And he turns red so fast that there's no way to really... And see, I just passed right through him there because it wasn't the right time. Even though he didn't change color to make it look like he was invincible. See, this part of the boss fight is somewhat fun. Downward thrusting onto it is fun. I really thought that I would get to use the level 2 bow in the final boss of the game. But instead, you just aim a normal bow. Some level 2 items are just criminally underused, which is a shame. And it really bothers me what they did to Veity's character in this game. They shouldn't have bothered even naming him Veity at all if he's so unlike what he was in Minish Cap. They might as well just... the only reason they keep it the same name is to make it consistent, to pretend that they have a consistent villain throughout the trilogy. But really, Veity only had his character in Minish Cap. Although it was extremely generic anyway, so it's not like it was worth anything. Ganon in this game is also extremely generic. And after this, you have a Metroid escape sequence in a Zelda game. At least it's interesting because it's in a 2D section.
But unfortunately, it's also interesting in the sense that it's an escort mission. The problem with this escort mission, as we linger some more and waste our time, is that, well, it's an escort mission, so like she has one heart. I'm sure she has more hearts in the multiplayer, like with Malin. But like she stops when you get to an enemy, which is at least good for avoiding her walking right through enemies and losing all of her health immediately. But like she also stops to talk to you, and it's not like she talks to you automatically. She just stops and you have to talk to her. And you can't make a screen transition until she's made a screen transition, obviously. So she just feels like an annoyance because she takes such a long time, and at one point I literally asked, can't I just go on without her? That was so pointless. Like, why would she even bother asking that? Shouldn't it be obvious that Ganon is still around and he's still someone to defeat? And I don't see why she wouldn't just jump down. Like, Link can jump down and he's fine, he doesn't get hurt. Oh god, these guys are so annoying to fight in 2D. But yeah, like, she could have just jumped down. But instead you have to backtrack and go all the way over to her to get her to follow you again. I mean, at least we're going through new level design and a new challenge, so you can't say that's padding. There's a glitch in this game called walking over a pit without level 2 Pegasus boots, but it's not really as great as it sounds. Hold the C stick in a direction where some links will be over the pit information. If you keep holding the stick in that direction, the links will glitch over the pit. However, they fall right before the end of the pit, which is disappointing. So, in the Dark Cloud, when you reach the electrical field in multiplayer, pay attention to the location of the switches. Arm multiple links with slingshots and have them face north and south. You'll need to cooperate with the other players to hit the switches and drop the fields. And for the Palace of the Winds, there's some multiplayer differences there too. You'll fight 3 one-eyed monsters near the end. If one player keeps the level 2 Pegasus boots, he can run across a gap and grab the big green force gems that drop when the enemies are defeated. To beat Vati in multiplayer, you have to toss bombs until he emits a circle of energy balls, just like a single player. But when he does, you have to have one link hit Vati with the arrow to stun him, and another link go out of the cannon and attack the eye. So they add a bit more challenge that for once actually makes sense that it wouldn't be in single player. And Ganon's energy balls are color-coded in multiplayer, you know, just to make it a little more annoying. Like, I can imagine that Ganon's fight would be a lot more annoying in multiplayer because, like, at least here you have the horizontal formation. Yeah, like, this is a lot of tedious going around, like, trying to hit switches and find them, and they're kind of hard to find. Like, it would be so much better if, like, you could just get straight out of the escape place. I have a feeling that there's no actual time limit. I mean, normally, if there's a time limit, the game tells you about it. Like, games in general tell you about it. Oh, I have an idea. Like, the level 2 Rock Spider could have given you a double jump. That could have been, like, a more creative way to jump further, even if it would have made way less sense. But yeah, I still have some more things that I haven't said yet about Twilight Princess. I know it's probably awkward commentary-wise, but at least it gives me something to talk about. In Twilight Princess, it clearly looked like the bull ran over Colin and the kid teleported onto the monster's hands. I love that you can run into enemies on horseback and send them flying. You can also spin attack them on the horse. Like, that's especially cool because in Ocarina of Time, you couldn't attack on the horse at all. And even in this game, you can't use a sword on the horse. You can only run into enemies with the horse. Not a problem because it's not like you're getting flanked and attacked from all sides on the horse. Like, you're invincible when you're on the horse in this game. So, like, you can't be knocked off the horse by an enemy. Imagine how much more annoying the horseback sections would have been if that was something that could happen. And these guys seem especially annoying in 2D, but fortunately they die really quickly. It would have been better if when you made contact with Steam in Twilight Princess, Link got wet. Having to fight Gorons with them not being on your side is very unique for Zelda.
There's tongue-twisting names for the Gorons, though. And there's a bullet bill somewhere on the model of the guy who fires you out of the cannon. Ugh, why are you just standing there? And again, this is a lot easier than it looks. Like, it looks like it'd be incredibly... And it is incredibly cheap in 2D, because there's no possible way you could avoid the spinning ball while you're trying to be as close to him as possible to attack him. Since you can't attack him with the bow and arrows because of his armor. I went back to get the bow and arrow because they're going to need them in the final boss battle, and I guess I was worried that it wouldn't be possible to beat the game without it. I hope they give it to you. Wow, that was terrible. She just stood there and talked when she could have kept going and talked, and because of her idiocy, we weren't able to get out of the tower before the floor crumbled. At the very least, we had to fall down here so we could seal away Ganon. But still, like, it just feels like this whole battle is her fault. But, like, there would have been room for a sequel if we left without fighting Ganon, but I'm sure Ganon could have come to us. Ganon says that he needs more power because he's weak, so I guess he gets his power from taking it away from the kidnapped Zelda, but he still has practically, like, just as much power when she's freed. So how does that work? Based on him, like, calling everyone worms and stuff, he's extremely generic as a villain. And this is really the only time we get to actually see him. So it's not like he has a deep character or anything. Yeah, you get brought into the Dark World, you fight some enemies, including what looks like one of the Knights of Hyrule transformed. So I guess he only transformed the Knights of Hyrule into those monsters for the evils, because he didn't have to do that when he could have just summoned those monsters. It's so easy for him to land on you. Like, basically, it's funny, even the Nintendo Power Guide says that if you have a lot of hearts and force fairies, go right ahead and get yourself hit by them if it means getting hits. Like, it's funny, like, it really goes to show you how the game design is, that even the guide itself encourages you to just take hits and be reckless. It's like he's on the floor for such a tiny amount of time that you pretty much have to be reckless in order to get a hit in and beat the boss without taking 8 billion years. I mean, it is more interesting to have him fly over to an area as a shadow than to teleport, I guess. And he throws his trident around, and there's blue fire. Like, there's no annoying bats constantly hitting you, so it's definitely more fun than in Link's Awakening or Link to the Past. Now, this section of the boss drags out. Like, it really could have stood to be shorter. I'm sure she has a health bar, and, well, the guy didn't say that she has more hearts in multiplayer, but you basically have to defend her from any energy balls attacking her, and it felt like it dragged out. I hope that's because, well, do you really have to make every energy ball, like, hit him? Like, do you have to hit him with a certain amount of energy balls for the boss to reach the point where you're allowed to shoot at it? Because it wasn't really making that clear. Because she was saying that you have to delay him until she's finished charging up. You think that she would finish charging up whether you reflected enough energy balls or not. I guess the point was that the energy balls would stun him after hitting him enough times. But, and like, stun him so he can't move and thus, like, dodge your attack. So, with that, the game is over. So, as for more stuff for me to say, people were able to play at a Nintendo Roadshow, the King Bublin horseback fight, and it was before the Wii port was announced. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about hurting Colin. Something that's better about the Wii port, for once, is that you can have 4 item slots in it, with 3 items on the D-pad directions, and an item on the B button.
I guess that would kind of make it better, but it's also on the Wii and forcing you to use something other than a GameCube controller. But the whole thing is that the GameCube controller doesn't have enough buttons to have 4 item slots in the first place. Darbus is what the baby Goron in Majora's Mask calls Link at first, and it's the elder of the Goron's name in this game. Well, as in Twilight Princess. If you hit the kids with the slingshot in the tutorial, they'll dodge the pellets. And this is a good bookends moment where you get to go back to the place where you start out the game again. I wonder if Link was sad having to do this, or if he was, like, really relieved because he finally gets to feel like he's back to normal again. The manga had, like, each Link have their own personality because they're all a different facet of Link. So they were constantly arguing, and one of them left to be a double agent for Shadow Link. But in this game, none of them have their own personality because they're all Link, and Link is not allowed to have a personality. He's your character avatar. So the story wasn't as good as it could have been. Thanks, Miyamoto. I wonder if they give them their own personalities in Triforce Heroes. Yeah, probably not. I heard the story was good. Maybe they talk in cutscenes. But Link is never allowed to talk. Not even in Breath of the Wild, where characters all have voice acting. And this really drags out. Like, they're standing there because they're all relieved and taking it in that it's all over, but still. You have to mash A faster and more frequently in the sumo match. And he sidesteps more than Bo did. The controls are delayed for the Wii part. Link slaps a second later because you need to use the Wiimote for it. It's weird that Link is only shirtless in the sumo match with the mayor. With Core Goron, he keeps his mail on, with his cap clipping through his shield. And this credits, like, sometimes it shows you something interesting, but for the most part it's just like the same thing. Like, this is exact same thing, nothing's changed. Other than, like, there's no Zora here. So, like, this credit sequence is showing you that all of the monsters are gone. A lot of the times it doesn't show you anything new, other than that. So it's just like a nostalgic, like, let's see the levels that you saw before. It is good that they're going out of their way to show you how things improved with Link, like, saving everyone. But I don't really see how the monsters could have vanished just because Ganon was sealed away. Do they have a mental and physical connection with them? Oh yeah, like the fat lady did exercise, so she's magically skinnier. So how long was Link's adventure that she would have time to get all that weight loss? Anyways, it's nice to see the villagers standing at different places than they did before. Although that's literally it. I don't think we see many kids. Like the whole point of the sad plot in the village was that the kids were all missing. In Twilight Princess, they combined Dodongo's cavern with the mechanical style of Fire Temple, losing their weaknesses. You can skip all the fire jets by taking a hit and using invincibility frames to roll through them. You need to roll at the right time so you'll get hit by the fire jets into the lava. Oh look, the house is in front of the cave again. How is that a happy ending? Plus the stakes are back. You think that the Goron, then again, he wasn't capable of removing the house the last time. Like, Link had to do it, so Dodongos keep their vulnerability to having things moved in their mouths. Their look in Twilight Princess is like a fire salamander. In the room with the wall that you have to pull out with a chain, if you pull it out a couple times, you can roll alongside it and it'll push you into the corridor, but it's only in the GameCube version. I really thought that I would be able to read out all the Twilight Princess trivia in the course of this playthrough, because there really wasn't that much for me to talk about with it, especially in the trivia about this game department. And like, yeah, like that. This isn't showing us anything new. We could have assumed that they rode on horses a lot. Oh look, the swamp isn't poisoned anymore. It's a shame that we only get to see that tiny part of the swamp that's not poisoned anymore, instead of seeing like the whole swamp as a whole being like that normal colored water. In Hyrule Castle, we don't see the guards still alive. It's just completely empty. It's a ghost town, basically proving that Link murdered so many people in the course of his adventure. You'd think that he'd be traumatized for life after this. But he's a silent, like, character avatar, so we'll never know what his thoughts were on the whole thing. And there's the sick kid, but you don't get to see him actually chasing anything, other than the fairy, but she's just there to look after the Lost Woods. She just runs off. And like, you got to see his mother too. So were his parents divorced? Why were they just leaving him all alone in that house, sick? Like, that was another thing I really didn't like. And this is literally just the same thing we already saw, except the villagers are all outside instead of inside. And the monsters are gone, obviously. But it's not like we locked the monsters in a monster chest, like in Minish Cap. Like in Zelda 1, Ganon was defeated, but in Zelda 2, the monsters were still around. That was the whole plot of the game. They're trying to get Link's blood to revive Ganon. So why did the monsters disappear so easily? Why did Barnes feel the need to send you letters telling you how to use the bombs, rather than just telling you about it right away? Why did Uku do it too? I like that you get to actually see Frozen Hyrule unfrozen, and with actual people living in it. Like, I really wish we got to see those people, like, when you're actually playing the game. I didn't even recognize Frozen Hyrule at first. Because, like, it looked so different. But yeah, you already know how I feel about the game. Like, it's a great game, but I really wish that you had more than one inventory slot, so it doesn't feel dumbed down and backtracky. And of course, we don't get to see the fireworks actually in the sky, because I guess looking up at the sky would have been too much for the GameCube technology. And I guess this is supposed to be ship tease, where suddenly she has a crush on Link because he's been a hero for the whole game. And funnily enough, there were already crack marks on the Elden Bridge's model before its middle section was removed. Why didn't the monsters destroy it outright? Why didn't people fix the bridge in the time it took getting to the desert? What's keeping such a heavy stone bridge supported over the pit?